There we go.
Colin, there's a clock over your shoulder. What's that
Mm,
about?
aren't we getting wizzy? So we're going to try and be disciplined and do 7 minutes today.
7 minutes in OddCast podcast number 8. Are you sure we shouldn't get a minute extra on our time for every cast?
This is like TED Talks today. TED Talks are limited on time, aren't they?
All right, TED Talks today. I'm going to start with a joke that meets the rules of joke due
Okay,
diligence.
go for it.
Okay, now that's going to be a challenge, isn't it? So I was sitting in my office yesterday in the compliance suite, and one of my colleagues walked in and he threw down on the desk in front of me a bag of prawns and said, "That's for starters."
That's probably that. I think that passes the joke due diligence. Okay, all right, you've got
You
it.
know, I'm not sure we should be the judge, jury, and conviction on whether that joke's a joke. Um, I saw something, Colin, which caught both of my eyes, which is that the legal press are picking up on comments being made by David Lammy, the Labour MP for Tottenham, as Aussie Idealists would have said, and he's talking about rewarding whistleblowers. How do you feel about that?
Well, I've read a little bit about the story because this has been going on for some time, hasn't it? It started last year, I believe. Now, the first thing that leaps out of me is that surely there should be an ethical consideration about this, that it's the right thing to do. So why would you want to consider rewarding somebody for financially, I assume, to whistleblow?
So if we take a moral or an ethical stance to begin with, and I see somebody doing something criminal, I feel obliged to try and stop them. I might feel obliged to report them. So
Hmm.
yes, it's the right thing to do. I also live in a republic, and in the republic, one of my civic duties that's expected of me is to report wrongdoing.
Hmm.
Um, so if I see wrongdoing, I at least consider reporting it. And my moral standard is sometimes I do,
Hmm.
sometimes I don't. It's never a straightforward dilemma. But you will have seen that the Labour Party is saying perhaps we'll pay whistleblowers for their help in prosecuting people.
Right. Yeah.
And some of the sums being talked about that might be paid to a whistleblower are the sort of things that get offered for a reward for information leading to a prosecution.
Yeah. And
Where,
the
where,
reward system.
where do you come from that on that point of view? Your blue uniform experience.
Okay. So the reward system has been in place for a long, long time, and I completely get that. So somebody provides information that leads to a conviction and they can get rewarded. And often that comes from, it might be from an organization. But my worry here is, and I'm drawing on my experience from way back when, because I was involved in sort of managing informants, is it comes full of safeguards, bureaucracy, pitfalls, dangers, and massive risk. Unless it's handled properly, it's going to blow up in the face. It really is because you are, it's you're getting into what I would sort of categorize as informant territory.
So in informant territory, you're going to reward me for telling you things that you think are useful and interesting, and how much you give me in a brown envelope at the back of the Red Lion. You're handling me, I'm your informant,
Mm.
will depend on how useful and how interesting that information is. Is there a temptation on my part if I'm thirsty, hungry, or need a fix that I might lie to you, tell you what you want to hear?
Absolutely. Yeah, and that has always been the challenge within policing that, and I can see we're talking. I think the way the Labour Party are talking is that professional people will provide this information. Now, there is a little bit of difference in terms of many informants actually are working on the other side of the law anyway. So there's probably a difference in the personalities, I suppose. But money corrupts people. And we're talking about handling corruption with a system that could.
Money makes people do funny things.
It does.
There's a very infamous case in the world of offshore financial services of an American who was working for UBS in Geneva, and he was being well paid by his employer for helping Americans hedge their assets in Geneva. And the placing of the assets in Geneva by these Americans was in breach of their reporting obligations as American citizens. So he was professionally enabling these people to evade their US tax obligations. And when this came to light, and when he was arrested in America, because he was on a trip to America, meeting with American-based clients, he subsequently did a deal with the Department of Justice, having served his prison sentence. And he then started to earn money based on how much money the US Department of Justice was recovering from its citizens who had previously evaded tax. And I struggled with that, as did a lot of people, which is, how can a criminal be rewarded for their criminality? And then it struck me, which is, well, if you pay me £1 and I help you recover £100 and you're the tax man, that's quite a well-spent £1 if you put the moral side to one side.
And that's always the challenge. And they talk about weighing up the risks and the justification, and you've got to look at a whole range of things when you're assessing the use of people that are going to provide information. It's a risky business. I'm not even sure. I don't think it's
a risky business. Did you just say it's a risky business?
A risky business.
Because I'm going to jump in on 30 seconds. Here it comes. 33, 32, 31. And I'm going to say to the fan, and you know who you are, how do you feel about whistleblowers being paid to reveal what they should perhaps already have revealed under a moral perspective? How do you feel about the authorities being given greater resources to prosecute professional enablers? Answers on a postcard to the usual address. My name is Colin Solomon, and the gentleman on my left or my right is
Colin Tansley, and we are down to 0. There we go.